Okay. Welcome back to Metal Heroes Review, episode number 42. Here we are. The review, or I'm reviewing the last 3 episodes of Space Sheriff Shaider. I will also give my final thoughts on this particular series and on the Space Sheriff Trilogy as a whole. But we're not done Metal Heroes. Don't worry about that. So in the case of 4748, we're continuing basically, it's the part 4 and part 5 of the endgame arc. So, 47, mostly put basically has Shaider basically still trying to get inside that tomb, and tries he might, is like, just begging him, and then he pushes, yes, pushes, part of the ruined thing forward, basically puts together like the ruined basically the simple jigsaw puzzle. After the whole episode, him not opening the damn thing, and then he opens it. Yep, he opens it, and like, is it some weapon? We're not revealing that just yet. So, what does he find instead when he first gets in there? Why, it's the Great Emperor Cuba's body. His original body. I'll get to that. So he spends the whole episode fighting him. It's like, it's just a scheme basically I had in there. So he fights him, drags him outside. Apparently it's weak against sunlight. And eventually he finally beats him. It's the whole episode fighting this one thing. And does not go to Strange Space. Nope. Does not go to Strange Space at all. Yeah, so, okay, they beat the thing. And then, of course, then by the end of the episode, he is trapped in the multi-episode of this arc. He is trapped in this tomb. He is trapped. He is running low on energy. He's like, okay, he tries can't get open. Of course, Poe decided to destroy the thing. And he also comes down because he lost contact. And also, the air planets are falling like crazy. And, of course, Shervin is basically asking for backup because he has like 4 or 5 days of energy left before he runs out. So Annie is captured and of course is tortured as part of her revenge to make sure to stop the whole Warrior Shaider stuff. And then pretty much basically so he looks around like, how do I get out of here? And then he basically uses the scope, like, he looks to what's behind this wall here, and it looks like another version of Blue Hawk. I'm not kidding about it. It looks like he has wings. So, this must be the mysterious weapon. Another vehicle. So, how do you get in there? Move this brick, press a button, door opens. He tries starting it, but no power. Andy's running oxygen, and then Andy apparently, of course, Marin basically comes in this episode too. She's trying to contact Shervin. The site doesn't work. So, then of course, basically, thanks to a plea from Annie, he proceeds to get more power. Asks, request, Warrior Shaider, please lend me your power. And then apparently gives a power boost and starts the motorcycle. And then he races out of the tomb. And he's flying through strange space. And then he jumps off, which I was seeing this later on. Apparently, that this has happened before in other ones. So, and then he rides the palace, just wipes the floor with the miracle workers, beats up the gals, frees Annie, and says, "Hey, you great emperor, I challenge you to a fight." And he's like, "You insolent brat." Yes, that's what he calls him, an insolent brat. And eventually, one of the most weirdest things I've ever seen. So, in the last series, Demon King Psycho was like this movable statue. Don Horror was a freaking statue with only head can move. And in the case of this is basically head on a wall. And he comes, he's got this spare body. Then, of course, basically, he proceeds to fight Shaider first in the palace. Then fight him the whole Strange World stuff. And, of course, he leaves spare body. The spare body was destroyed. And, of course, by the way, in the tomb he discovered basically how to defeat the Emperor. Stab his third eye. So then he proceeds to stab the eye, slice him, and he's destroyed. completely destroyed. And then we see Warrior Shaider in present day. And he doesn't speak. And this apparently kind of confirms that Shaider, that the one we know died, he is a descendant of his. The comedic character makes a big cameo toward the end of the episode. And of course, like, okay. And of course, they mentioned the two previous organizations right after basically that this one has fallen. Morodu and Moroku. Yeah. The first two organizations, this is the third one. Yeah, they've all fallen. And it's like, oh yeah, the universe is at peace. So basically, but by the end of 48, you would think, though, what way it seems like this will be the final episode of the series. Like, he's won, and he doesn't have no home to, so she basically stays there. And, of course, shake hands, and that would be the episode. But that's not the final episode of the series. Oh, no, we have an episode 49. 49, we actually return of Gavin and of course, Shaider, who returned to Earth. This is the first time this is the only time these two appear ever in this whole series. And yet, for some reason, that Gavin is credited for appearing in 6 episodes, despite the fact he only appears in technically the series like in 2. Yeah, he actually appeared at the start of the previous arc. We briefly ran on top of his space dragon he fights. And of course, Shriver is only seen in paintings, not in person, just in paintings. And then, of course, we see Gavin. He's bald. Don't know the reason for it. So, then we go to a clip show of his stuff throughout his series. Now, for me anyways, I like seeing these clip show because this is something I haven't seen in like a little over a year. I haven't seen this stuff in a long time. Great to see this stuff again. And it's anything with Shriver too. They did not show exactly the speech that Commander Quinn gave him before he left Earth, because he was made the space sheriff of the planet Ega at the end of that particular series. And then here, apparently off-screen, yes, off-screen, Commander Quinn did not come to Earth to give him promotion for this. And this is quite weird for this one, because in Gavin he came to Earth like 2 or 3 times. Shriver he came to Earth once in the finale. This one, he never left Planet Bird. Nope, never did. Do not know the reason for it. The only time we saw him was basically via communication screen. And apparently off-screen, Shaider has been promoted to captain, is basically promoted to head of the solar system. And of course, his base operation on Earth. And of course, then after go through Shivan's basically clip show, and then it's, well, Shaider's. Well, if you watch the series already, you don't need to see the clip show for him, because we've already just watched someone just basically just the last episode. Yeah. So then, of course, they meet up, they transform one more time, and of course, they decide to hang out for a bit, and of course, oh crap, we see Gerald Guyver's alive. Except it's not him. It's someone who looks like him. They run off, and that's kind of how the final episode ends. So bye-bye, space sheriffs. Well, Kenji Oba himself would return a couple times after this as a guest star in a couple series. One, of course, we'll be talking about next time. The other is Talking About Future. In the case of the guy who plays Shimon, he guest stars with a character in one series. I think it's in the very next one, but I'm not discussing that next one just yet, which is Jasmine. I'm not... the one that comes next after Shaider is Jasmine. I'm not discussing that one just yet, but he does appear in that one. But he does return as main character of the series I'm doing next. After the next series I'm doing next, I'll discuss it in a minute. By the way, I'm going to announce it here that the very next series we'll discuss for Metal Heroes, after talking about the next one, the 2 after this one will be Jinku Senshi Sabin. Yep. Which, of course, basically, the guy who plays Shriver basically returns to that role. And he's like the only actor to play 2 different protagonists. I'll discuss the future. Oh. The next series we're discussing will be Chenguki Melder. The series that is its action footage was adapted for the first season of VR Troopers. This season was adapted for one of the 2 shows adapted for VR Trooper Season 2. So, first up, final thoughts on the Space Sheriff Shaider. Some good and some bad things. I think the actor, at this point, after getting used to him for about 49 straight episodes, I think that he's fine for what he is. I think he does an okay job. He's not terrible. He does emit motion, but he does come as wooden. But the one thing I wasn't really a big fan of for him was his blue coat. I was not a fan of the blue coat. I think the coats that the first two Space Sheriffs had were a lot better than this guy had. His looked like basically something out of a band. Just a blue coat. Okay. I like the suit. The suit's fine. The problem I have with the suit a lot of the time that was shown on screen for like a good chunk of the series is that you look for the nice, good-looking suit you have first two episodes, and then for faraway shots, for some strange reason, we go to a cheap-looking suit. Well, mostly the vest. Yeah, do not know why this was, but apparently for close-ups and basically in some stock footage shots, they would use that particular suit. It's like basically whatever budget they have first two series of the Space Sheriff, it's like it was the same for the first two. This one, it got cut a little bit. Yes, I think this one did suffer basically from a lower budget than the first two did. That is presumably what happened here. I'm not sure. But one thing also that helped the series is that this guy didn't show up in the previous series except this one. Nope, he did not. I do not know why this is, but this is going to be kind of starting a tradition basically for Metal Heroes where when I've looked up, apparently all the Metal Heroes, all the protagonists, all make their debut in the first episode of their respective series, not pop up in someone else's series. I mean, the only one that did not do this was Shevin. He debuted in Gavin first, then he got his own series. Yep. Now, what happened to the actor who played Shaider? 17 years after this series concluded, actually more like 16 years, in the year 2001, he died at the age of 37 due to he had alcohol poisoning. He apparently could not take the stardom at all, so that's why he died. That's why I've heard the reason why he died. That's why I read online the reason why he died. So this episode 49, that was his last ever appearance. He never returned after this because next time we see Shaider, he gets replaced with a completely different actor. But they replaced the character. They basically put a new guy in the suit instead of recasting him, which I thought that was quite nice of them to do. But I'll discuss that later on because the next thing to discuss before I get to Melody will be a series of 5 movies. And I've been saving these movies until after finish up this very series. And the very first one I'm going to do is Gokaiger versus Space Sheriff Gavin. Yeah, this is the first of the revival of the Metal Heroes movie, Metal Heroes the series of movies. There is one movie I'm not going to discuss, and that's going to be Gavin versus Deca Ranger. For a good reason, because I haven't watched Deca Ranger yet, so why would I watch something from a half of a series that I haven't watched yet? And some of you might be thinking, then why did you do for this one? We reviewed next movie review in Sentai because I watched Gokaiger, and that movie got me interested in the Metal Hero series. Yep. So that's me pretty much a particular view. Before I end here, there's a couple of things. Number one, final thoughts on the Space Sheriff trilogy as a whole. This trilogy was great. I absolutely loved it. I loved I like the story for all 3. I think all 3 stories really good. Despite the fact they did reuse some stuff here and there from the previous series, make good stories go forward. I like the whole going on dimension stuff was fine. I think by the time they hit the second series, they really hit their stride with that one. It's like that one was so good. And the one thing that Shriven had in common with Shaider, it's like half of the series of he's actually this. Like in the case of Shriven, he's actually an alien. For Shaider, he's a descendant of an ancient warrior. Okay. In the case of Gavin, well, they don't really have any shocking relations about him, except the fact his father was alive for a few episodes. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing really. They do explore his character a lot through those 44 episodes. Yep. But the one thing for 40, Crossover movie for the 3 space sheriffs, and no fighting. It's all clip show. That was big disappointment about it, but I did like the clip shows they did for the first series because I hadn't watched them in a while. But I did like the fact they had to do one for Shaider. I think for him it was not necessary, especially since, like I just mentioned when I talked about it, they used stock footage from the very previous episode. It's almost like they did this episode as they could buy the space ship, because I think Toei want to move on from the space ship because I think the story has been concluded already, so they want to move on and do something similar to do with Sentai and Kamen Rider, basically a series of standalone series. And Metal Heroes will continue this point forward until 1999. With a series that focuses on kids. Yeah, I read the premise of the last 2 Metal Heroes series. They don't feel like the Metal Heroes. It's just basically kids working with little robots. I'm like, that does not interest me at all. I like the action ones better. That's just my opinion, anyways. But yeah, that is definitely gonna be it. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on notifications and do not hit that dislike button. Next up, first the 2 Straight Comic Corners. Okay, next video. Bye.